Hello and welcome. My name's Jessica Rose. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a tassel necklace. So we've got a lovely central bead here. We're going to have a nice chain tassel at the bottom, and then we're going to have a kind of classic beaded necklace at the back. So what I have for this project is a central bead. So you can use any bead that you like for your central bead, but we need to make sure that the hole is big enough to fit through the wire that we're using. So this should be plenty. And I have a little bit of wire, so I'm using quite a fine wire. 0.4mm or 0.6mm is fine. I could also use 0.8, to be honest, with this project. It just comes down to preference, it doesn't matter too much. Then I've got some nylon wire, which I'm going to be using for the length of my necklace to thread my beads on. I've got some beads, so I've got a selection of crystals in different colours, but again, any beads that you like. It's up to you, your design. Then I've got a lobster clasp for the back, a jump ring, and I'm working in gold plated, which you could do, or you could do it in silver plated or another metal. And I've got some crimps, so I just need 2 crimp beads. I'm using 1.3mm, but they don't have to be that exact size, and it's number 2 in the bead along range. Then I've got my plier set, so some round nose pliers I like to have on my mat, some chain nose pliers which are flat on the inside and pointed on the outside, no teeth in there, and also some side cutters. That's all we're going to need for today, so let's get started. The first thing I want to do is cut my 3 lengths of chain, and it's entirely up to you how long you want your tassel to be. I think I'm going to go, I'm just going to have a look at my measurement. You can use your mat if you've got it on your mat, or you can use a ruler. I think I'm going to go around 7 centimeters. So I'm just going to cut the first one with my side cutters. Just pop it in there. And place it back down. Now, because a centimetre is quite a big measurement in jewellery, I'm not going to get it exactly right, most likely by using just the ruler. So what I will do is thread a little bit of scrap wire through one chain, and then I'll thread on the next one. That way I can see them side by side and get a better idea of exactly where to cut my second one. Now, this is assuming you want all your chains the same length. You can, a variety of this necklace is to do it with 3 different lengths of chain, so it's entirely up to you. So I'm just going to go all the way down, and this gives a really good estimate of what length to cut. It's not perfect, but I'm going to go ahead and just cut it there. Because I'm happy to take a little bit away if I don't get it right on this occasion, I'm just going to go with it. So let's check those 2. Came out of my little wire, so I'll pop it back in. And let's see, yeah, so one of them's slightly longer than the other. Only slightly, so I'm just going to make that adjustment now. To stop it from coming out each time, I'm just going to make it more hooped. So it can be a bit fiddly cutting your 3 lengths of chain, but it's not a challenging thing. It's just a case of spending a bit of time. Okay, they look good. Yeah, they look good. Now I'm ready to add my third one on. And you can buy chain online. If you type in gold plated chain or silver plated chain, lots of options, lots of different shapes and sizes available. So I always just go for my best guess with the first cut. Then I can test it. yes, I'm happy. Those three look like a really nice length. So now I'm ready to attach them to my central bead. And actually I'm going to use this piece of wire because this is the exact same wire that I'm going to need. So the first thing that I want to do is make a nice loop. So thread all your 3 pieces onto your wire. Place your wire somewhere in the middle onto your round nose pliers at the base of the pliers. So I'm going to get the biggest loop possible. And I'm just going to wrap it around both sides, making sure that the chain is in there. So that's what we're going for, a loop with the chain. When you're happy, I'm going to take one end and wrap it around the other. And the other end I'm going to place upwards. That's going to be the end we're going to use to put our bead through. And I'm going to wrap just a couple more times around to hold that nicely in place. Cut off that excess piece of wire with your side cutters and use your chain nose plier, so just tuck that little sharp end in. And just rub it over with your finger to make sure that it's nice and smooth. Okay, now I'm ready to add on my bead. So I'll put my central bead in the top. And I want to create a nice big loop at the top. So this is where I want to make sure the loop is bigger than the hole of the bead. So I don't want a tiny loop because it could fall through. So I'm going to go for a fairly decent sized loop. I'm going to place it not all the way at the bottom, probably a little bit away from the bottom of the pliers to create that loop. Twist it round and under. And because I don't have much left, normally I'd work with a little bit more wire, but I've left it a little bit short. I'm going to use my pliers to just tuck that round. So your pliers are kind of like extensions of your fingers. You can work with them to create the desired effect that you're trying to achieve with your wire wrapping and with your jewellery making. And the more you work with them, the more confident you'll become working with them. So I'm just going to cut off that little excess piece of wire there. And tuck that little end in. It's less fiddly if you leave a bit more wire. Top tip. Okay, so now I've got my central bead and my tassel. I'm ready to start looking at the rest of the necklace. So I'm going to take a length of this clear nylon wire, and I want to make sure it's at least as long as the necklace, but I probably want about 10 centimeters extra each end so that I can work with it to attach on my clasps. And I'm going to thread it through this top loop. So this will form the center of my necklace. Next stage is adding on my beads. And I've got a nice little selection of beads here, so I can choose the design I like. So I'm going to start with these kind of cornflower blue beads. And I'm going to thread them on one at a time. You can design your whole necklace before you start, or if you have a design in mind, you can just go for it. And essentially all we're going to do is thread on the beads that you like on each side. You have to be a little bit careful when we're working with both sides of the necklace because we don't want the beads to fall off. So sometimes I'll place the wire under some pliers just as a little weight while I'm doing the other side. And I'm going to go ahead and fill up both sides of my necklace to the desired length that I want with my beads on. So you can see I've made a little start there. So I'm just going to keep going and add as many crystals or beads as I like, and then I will show you how to do the attachment to secure it at the back. So here you can see I've added a lot more beads and crystals to fill up my necklace. I'm just going to add a few more final ones on, and then we're going to do the clasp. And I've just done a nice little design with the colours that work well together that I think will have a really lovely effect for my final piece. Okay, lovely. So when I'm happy with the length of my necklace, I'm going to attach on my clasp. So on one end I want my lobster clasp, and on the other end I want my jump ring. So I'm going to start with the lobster clasp, and I'm going to get a couple of crimps ready as well. And I tend to work with one metal at a time. So if I've done the tassel in a gold, I'll tend to do the findings, which are these bits at the back, in a gold too. Or, you know, if I've done it in silver, I'll tend to use silver findings. You can buy some nice kits online of silver and gold plated findings so that you always have them to hand for whichever beading design you're working on. So I'm going to place the crimp on the end of the wire, thread it through, then place my lobster clasp on. And take the nylon wire and thread it back through that crimp. Pull it nice and tight to encapsulate that lobster clasp in there. I'm not going to worry too much about where my beads are at the moment because it's just the first side. On the other side we'll need to think about that. But I want to make sure there's enough room for movement on my clasps. I don't want to get so close with the crimp that it can't move, so there's a bit of flexibility. Then using my chain nose pliers, I'm going to get on top of the crimp and give it one firm squeeze. That's it. We want to avoid doing too many squeezes because we might break the crimp, so one firm one is ideal. If you need a second one, that would be the maximum. Then I'm going to go in with my side cutters and just cut off the excess wire. Make sure you only cut off the excess one, not the one that you've been beading on, otherwise we have to start again. So that's one side. Now, because I've got a gap there, I'm just going to push my beads down to make it at the end. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, but with my jump ring. So I want to make sure my jump ring's closed nicely. It's a little bit wobbly at the moment, so I'm just going to put it into 2 flat pliers and adjust it. Just give it a little wriggle either side and bring the 2 ends to a nice meeting point. You can buy closed jump rings. This is an open jump ring, which means there's a split in it. If you buy closed jump rings, there's no gap. It's just a circle. It's soldered together. So that can be quite good for this kind of project as well. So I'm going to thread on a crimp followed by a jump ring. And this time I want it to go all the way down to meet my beads. So I've got my bead, my crimp, and then my jump ring. Then I'm going to place the wire back through the crimp to encapsulate the jump ring and pull it. So this is where I want it tight but not too tight. So at the moment it's a little bit distorted because it's a little bit tight. So I just need to leave a little gap and give the bead some room to breathe. So at this stage it's quite good to hold up the necklace so that you can get out any gaps in the beads and make sure that you're adjusting it to the right place. Then when I'm happy, and go back down, use my chain nose pliers to just crimp that crimp, pushing it down, and cut off the excess wire. Nice and snug in there. Lovely. And then we are done. So I can attach the lobster clasp to the jump ring. And we have our completed tassel crystal necklace. A really, really lovely project. You can explore different design ideas with this one and different colour schemes, anything you like. So I'd love to see your finished makes, so do come and share them with me over on the Jewelers Academy Facebook group, or also you can tag us on social media at Jewelers Academy. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel for lots more jewelry making tutorials and sessions on how to start and grow a successful jewelry business. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you on another video very soon.